Long before the kingdoms of men, before the elves sang beneath starlight, and even before the dark lords claimed their shadows, there walked a being untouched by time itself, a laughing, singing master of earth and water, stronger than any ring, wiser than any king, and yet he desires nothing. This is the story of Tom Bombadil, the eldest, whose power the world could never grasp. Before we wander deeper into the old forest and the laughter of the eldest, subscribe to join us on more journeys through the hidden wonders of Middle-earth. Your support keeps these tales alive. Chapter 1: The Forgotten Song of the First Days. There are songs older than the mountains, whispers carried by the wind through ages forgotten, and among them one name drifts still, faint, elusive, and full of laughter: Tom Bombadil. He who walks untouched through shadow and storm, who wears no crown, yet commands all that grows and flows in the land about him. Long before the world was shaped, before even the sun had first risen, the music of the Ainur wove the first patterns of being. In that timeless age, when thought was form and song was substance, the world to be stirred in the deep places of Ea. Yet there were strains in that music no lore now remembers, harmonies untouched by the Valar's shaping hands, notes that lingered between their chords like glimmers of forgotten light. And from those secret threads, it is said, came the spirit that would one day be known as Tom Bombadil. No one can truly say whence he came. Some claim he awoke beneath young stars when Arda was still soft and new. Others whisper that he was already there when the Valar first set foot upon the green earth. He does not answer such questions, or if he does, it is with laughter, a rhyme, or a song that makes the questioner forget what they asked. Yet in that mirth lies something older than power, something deeper than wisdom, the memory of the first music itself. When the world was young, rivers ran wild, and forests spoke with their own voices. The wind carried the dreams of the hills, and the roots of the trees touched the bones of the mountains. And in those days, Tom walked freely, singing as he went. The land stirred beneath his steps. Where he passed, flowers rose from the dark soil, and streams quickened their song. He called himself Eldest, not in pride, but as truth, for no other in Middle-earth remembered the first dawn as he did. In the west, the Valar labored to heal the wounds Melkor had wrought, and the elves, waking under starlight, began to name the things they loved. But Tom needed no name for his joy. His song was the naming of all things, the word before words, the laughter before language. He sang to the hills, and they knew him. He spoke to the waters, and they answered. And when the dark things of Morgoth crept into the forests, testing their strength, his song turned them away as light turns away shadow. Yet Tom sought no dominion. He ruled nothing and was ruled by none. While the Valar shaped kingdoms of might and order, he contented himself with the simple delight of being. That was his secret and his power. For all the world bent itself toward mastery and possession, Tom alone desired nothing, and so nothing could claim him. There are tales that when Ulmo sent forth his waters to carve the valleys and fill the seas, he heard a laughter ringing in the reeds of the young Withywindle. Some say Ulmo paused then, listening, for the voice was not of Maya nor elf, but something beyond their knowing. "Who sings in my waters?" he asked, and the ripples answered with mirth. but the voice replied only with a riddle and was gone. The river knows her own name, old friend, and I am only her echo. Thus was Tom's beginning, or perhaps his remembering. He took no part in the wars of the powers, nor in the shaping of the lands. Yet he watched as the forests spread and the first stars waned, as elves awoke and dwarves delved deep, as men came and built their cities of stone. All these he saw, and all he loved, but he remained apart, content within his green realm. The ages rolled like rivers to the sea, and still he wandered, singing. But even as his laughter echoed through the hills, darkness gathered again. For the world does not forget the shadow easily, and Melkor's malice, though chained, had sown seeds that would grow in secret. In those days, the hearts of living things began to tremble under the slow burden of fear, and the song of the earth dimmed. Then it was said that Tom's voice grew louder, brighter, not in defiance, but in remembrance. He sang so the world would not forget what joy felt like before the shadow came. In the quiet places where sunlight fell through leaves, where streams danced among stones, the memory of that song still lingers. And though few now understand it, those who pass through the old forest sometimes feel it still, a lightness of heart, a sudden peace, as if the very air is smiling. That is his gift to the world, the echo of a laughter older than sorrow, a music untouched by malice. And so, when others sought to measure power in might and rule, they overlooked him, the one who held sway not through command, but through harmony. They could not see that in the song of Tom Bombadil lay a strength the Dark Lords could never master, the power of being free. Chapter 2. The Coming of the Eldest. There are places in Middle-earth where the mists remember. When dawn rises pale upon the Barrow Downs and the air smells of old rain, the land itself seems to whisper a name, not in words, but in a feeling that stirs the heart. He walks again, the hills seem to murmur. The eldest is abroad. In the elder days, before men learned the craft of speech, Tom Bombadil roamed far beyond the borders of what would one day be called the Shire. The rivers were his companions, the woods his hall, the wind his herald. He was not a guardian by duty, but by delight, for his joy in the world was so great that all things near him shared in it. To the willow and the reed, to the brook and the hare, he gave laughter, and in return they knew no fear while he wandered by. No one summoned him, for no one could. He came and went as freely as the breath of Arda itself. To the west, beyond the Baranduin, elves had begun to dwell, crafting songs to shape memory and beauty. Yet even their music seemed young beside his. When they first beheld him, they thought perhaps he was of the Maiar, a lesser spirit of Yavanna, sent to tend the growing earth. But when they spoke to him, he only chuckled, as though their guess amused him. "Maiar," he said, his eyes bright with mirth. "Nay, little singers, I am myself. Before your kind learned the first names of the stars, I was here, humming to the stones." The elves found no deceit in his words, yet his laughter disarmed even their wisdom, for it was the laughter of one untouched by envy or grief, a sound that carried no burden of time. They named him Earwine Ben-Adar, the eldest and fatherless, for such was the only truth they could grasp of him. Still they marveled, for even among the ageless, none were so old as he. And as the elves sang to Varda beneath the newborn constellations, Tom's voice mingled with theirs, weaving through their harmonies like sunlight through leaves. Yet where their songs reached upward in reverence, His flowed downward, deep into the roots of the world. He sang not to the heavens, but to the earth itself. And the earth answered. In his presence, the very air shimmered with life, and the flowers bent toward him as if listening. But the world was changing. From the distant north, shadows crept from Angband, spreading fear like frost. Morgoth's creatures slithered through the hidden places, twisting the woods, poisoning the waters. Trees grew still in dread. Rivers whispered of shapes that moved without form. The firstborn called upon the Valar, yet no help came swiftly. It was then, it is said, that Tom sang the first warding. He did not make war as the powers did. His song was soft, yet its echo went deep, a melody that wrapped the land in quiet strength. Where it was heard, corruption faltered. The darkness came, but it could not root itself in his domain. The elves, watching from afar, wondered how this could be, that one so carefree could withstand what even their princes feared. In time, a few among them dared to ask. "Eldest," said one, "why do the shadows flee you? What power is this that guards your land?" Tom only smiled. "Power? Nay. They flee because they cannot find me. I am not part of their game. The dark and the light, they play their tunes of mastery and might. But my song is my own, and who can bind what is free?" He laughed again, and the trees shivered in delight. Yet within that laughter was a mystery deeper than any spell. For the enemy's power was in possession, the will to dominate, to bind all things to his purpose. Tom's power was the very opposite, the will to let go. Thus he stood apart, untouchable, because nothing in him could be claimed or corrupted. Through the long ages, when elves made war and men rose and fell, Tom's land remained quiet, a green heart beating still in a world of turmoil. He watched the stars change and the seas rise. He saw kingdoms built and broken, the light of Valinor fade, and still he sang. Each note was a defiance, not of hatred, but of forgetting. His joy was his strength, and his memory the root of all that still lived unshadowed. When asked once if he feared the dark, he answered with a twinkle, "Fear? No. The dark is only another verse of the same song. I was there when it began, I'll be here when it ends." In those words lies the measure of his mystery, for though he took no part in the shaping of fate, fate itself could not pass him by. He was witness to the world's making, yet unmade by it, a being older than time's measure, singing still beneath the changing sky. And somewhere in the heart of the old forest, when the wind passes through the willow leaves, that song still lingers. It is faint, yet endless, the echo of the Eldest, who walks unseen, smiling at the folly of kings and the sorrows of ages. For in Tom's laughter is the quiet truth of Arda itself, that all power fades, all crowns fall, but joy, pure, unpossessing joy, endures. Chapter 3: The River Daughter and the Secret of the Withywindle. In the heart of the green land, where the rivers wove silver paths through meadow and fern, Tom Bombadil met her, the one he called his Goldberry. Long before hobbits tilled the Shire, or men dared the edges of the old forest, she dwelt by the Withywindle, a spirit born of water and sunlight, daughter of the river's song itself. Her laughter was like rain on still pools, and her eyes shone with the hue of willow leaves under dawn. She moves as water moves, flowing, graceful, forever escaping the grasp of form. Those who saw her called her River Daughter, for she was the life and voice of the Withywindle made fair. It was in the time when the land was still waking from its ancient slumber that Tom came upon her. He had wandered far that day, following the murmur of the stream, humming softly to himself. Then he heard a different song, light, dancing, playful, and paused to listen. "Hey now, what's this?" he said aloud, leaning upon his knee beside the bank. "A tune that dares to twine with mine?" From the reeds, laughter answered. A shape like sunlight rippling on water rose from the pool, and Goldberry stood before him, her hair crowned with lilies. "Who are you," she asked, smiling, "that walk the banks and sing as though the river were your harp?" "I am myself," said Tom, bowing with mock solemnity. "Tom Bombadil, the merry fellow. Who are you, bright lady, that turn my song to silver?" "I am daughter of the river," she said. "Its spring is my cradle, its mouth my dream. And you tread upon my waters." Tom chuckled, his blue eyes glinting. "Then the water is glad I tread it, for it dances beneath my boots. I mean no harm, fair river daughter. Shall we not share our songs?" And so they did. From that day forth, Tom's melody joined hers, twining like the currents of the Withywindle, earth and water, laughter and grace. The land itself seemed to rejoice, for their union was no mere meeting of spirits, but the binding of two harmonies long apart. Goldberry was not his possession, she was his equal. Where Tom's song reached deep into the bones of the earth, hers flowed through every brook and drop of rain. Together they kept the heart of that valley pure, untouched by shadow or sorrow. The Withywindle became a living boundary, a sanctuary where evil dared not linger. Elves who wandered near felt it at once, a sense of peace, bright yet solemn. They called the place Nenueleth, the land of the water maid, though none could find it without the land's own will. It was said that Goldberry's laughter turned away the mists of Morgoth's lingering malice, and Tom's voice soothed the roots of the trees. But beyond that haven, darkness still grew. In the far north, Angban's ruins whispered of old hate. In the east, men rose and fell beneath Shadow's hand. The ages rolled on, and the songs of the firstborn faded. Yet within their hidden valley, time itself seemed to pause. The river ran ever onward, but the years passed like dreams. Sometimes, on starlit nights, Goldberry would gaze into the waters, her reflection mingling with the moon's. "The world changes, my love," she would say softly. "The great ones fade. Do you not feel it?" Tom would smile and take her hand. "Let it change, river daughter. The hills will roll, the stars will wander, but we'll keep singing. The dark cannot swallow all the light, not while we remember." She laughed then, low and tender. "And who will remember us when all songs are dust?" Tom's gaze grew distant, as if he looked beyond the veil of years. Perhaps no one, yet what of it? The song still is, though no ear hears. That's enough for me. Those words were the heart of his power. For while others sought legacy and renown, Tom lived only in the moment of song, not to endure, but to be. In that simplicity lay a strength beyond reckoning, for the dark could not grasp what left no mark to claim. It was said that when storms came and trees fell, Goldberry's voice could calm the floods with a whisper. And when the willow roots grew restless and the forest murmured of strange dreams, Tom would sing until peace returned. The creatures of that land, fox, bird, and bee, knew them both, and none feared their coming. Together they were the beating heart of the old forest, he the laughter of the earth, she the grace of flowing water. And though the world beyond grew old and weary, the Withywindle Valley remained forever young, a hidden echo of the world's first morning. So it was that the Eldest and the River Daughter kept their watch, not as lords of realm or power, but as stewards of remembrance. For as long as they sang, the world would know that somewhere, untouched by greed or grief, the old joy still lived. Chapter 4. The Power Beneath the Silence. There are few places left in Middle-earth where the air holds stillness so deep that the world itself seems to listen. In the hollow glades of the old forest, where light filters like gold dust through leaves, the very silence hums with memory. That silence belongs to him, to Tom Bombadil. For though he is known for laughter and song, his power lies not only in sound, but in what follows after, in the quiet that bends the world around it. The wise among the Eldar, those who once walked near his land, came to understand this truth in part, that his music was not made to command, but to awaken. And in the stillness that followed, creation itself remembered its first peace. They say that when Tom fell silent, even the wind ceased its wandering, waiting as though the next note might remake the world. And in that pause, a strange power gathered, not the flame of Melkor's will, nor the authority of Manwë's voice, but a deeper, older harmony, too simple for the proud to understand. This was the power beneath the silence, the strength of things left unbroken. When the world was young and the discord of Melkor had yet to be healed, much was twisted by the will to possess. Mountains were sundered, seas upheaved, and even the stars burned with grief. But in the hidden heart of the land, untouched by struggle, something endured. Tom was there, walking unseen, his feet bare upon the damp earth, his gaze wandering from root to sky. He did not mend the broken world as the Valar did. He simply loved it, and that love was a healing of its own kind. Where his song passed, the ground remembered the old harmony, and what was wounded found peace again. One tale tells that a shadow creature of Morgoth, fleeing the ruin of Angband, once crept south into the forests near the Barrendine. It brought with it fear, and the trees grew sick in its wake. Tom found it crouched beneath a twisted oak, whispering poison into the soil. He did not smite it with flame, nor call thunder as the powers might. He simply looked upon it and began to hum, a slow, deep tone that seemed to rise from the roots beneath their feet. The thing shuddered and screamed, for it could not bear the sound of what was pure. "Go," said Tom softly, "and trouble not this earth again." And the shadow fled into the east, dissolving with the wind. It was then that Goldberry came beside him and touched his hand. "You did not fight it," she said. "You unmade its fear." Tom smiled. "There's no victory in struggle, dear heart. The world wins when we remember what it was meant to be." Thus, his mastery was never over things, but through them, not in dominance, but in knowing. He understood the secret name of every leaf and stone, and so could speak to them as one might to a friend. Even the willful old man willow, whose roots grasped and held with dark cunning, could not stand against that knowing. Tom's words were not threats, but reminders. and the old tree, hearing them, released what it had bound. In that, we glimpse the true depth of his nature. The Valar were rulers of creation. Tom was its memory. Where they brought order, he preserved meaning. Where they governed by law, he healed by laughter. Yet for all his mirth, there was gravity in him, a stillness that could humble the proud. For in his presence, all things seemed to remember themselves. The beasts grew calm. The trees ceased their whispering. The very water of the Withywindle stilled, as though listening for his next breath. It was said that this was the echo of the first music, the undying chord that runs through all life, and that Tom alone could touch it without fear. The elves, for all their wisdom, could not fathom this. How can he be so free, they asked. He has no realm, no followers, no destiny. But they did not see that freedom itself was his dominion. In the ages to come, as men rose and power waxed and waned, the mightiest among them sought to shape the world through will. Yet, in all their striving, none achieved what Tom had done simply by being. Harmony without rule, peace without conquest, joy without end. He was the quiet heartbeat beneath the song of the world, the silence between the stars. And though he never claimed it, all who came near his land knew that in the stillness of Tom Bombadil lay a power far greater than the fires of any dark lord, the power to be untouched, unchanged, and utterly free. Chapter 5: The Dark Lord's Shadow and Tom's Defiance. Even as Tom wandered in his green world, far from the courts of Valinor and the councils of elves, the shadow of the Dark Lords reached outward, stretching like a stain across Middle-earth. Morgoth's malice had long been bound, yet the echoes of his hatred lingered in the stones, the trees, and the hearts of creatures left to the world's care. Later still, when Sauron rose, the memory of that malice found form again, subtle, cunning, insidious. And yet the shadow could not claim him. It approached, probing with all the cunning of its kind, testing the edges of his land, seeking to find weakness. But Tom Bombadil met it not with sword, nor shield, nor spell, but with the certainty of being. His laughter rang across glades where even the wind hesitated, a sound untouched by fear, mocking the darkness as though it were a mere guest lost in the wrong forest. It was said that once agents of the enemy came to the borders of his domain, creatures twisted and foul, eyes glinting with the hunger of domination. They thought to ensnare, to frighten, to compel. Tom stood among the ferns, bare of armor, staff in hand only for song, and spoke a simple rhyme. Old trees and old roots, heed my tune. Shadows shall not stay by night or noon. Go back whence you came, with fear in your flight, for here lies no darkness, only light. The creatures quailed, for they understood instinctively that this was no ordinary defiance. Here was no mortal lord, no elf prince, no Maya in borrowed guise. Here was one older than their hatred, immune to their dominion. They fled, and the trees sighed, releasing what the darkness had tried to hold. Even the elves, who glimpsed such encounters from afar, marveled. He is not of our kind, they said. He does not wield power in ways we know. Yet none can stand before him. How is it so? The truth lay not in might, nor in magic, nor in arms, but in the singular nature of his being. The Dark Lord's strength was coercive. It demanded obedience, bending will to their vision. Tom's strength was absolute in its indifference. It could not be measured, contained, or corrupted. He did not oppose them by force, for force cannot touch what will not be grasped. When the One Ring was made, the wise feared its sway. Even Gandalf spoke of its dread, and Elrond trembled at the thought of its mastery. And yet, the ring had no hold on Tom. He wore it, and it lay upon him as though it were nothing more than a trinket of wood and metal. He laughed at it, set it down, and the world continued unchanged. The ring, which could enslave kings and bend nations, found no leverage in his song. This is the heart of his defiance. Not triumph through confrontation, but sovereignty through freedom. The Dark Lords could not comprehend it, for they measured power as dominion. Tom measured it as joy. They sought to ensnare, and he simply existed, untouchable, untempted, unbound. And in this there was hope for the hidden places of Middle-earth. For even when shadows stretched across lands and men grew weary beneath the weight of fear, the quiet presence of the Eldest remained, a reminder that there are forces in the world that cannot be broken, cannot be bent, cannot be bought. The forests, the rivers, the very stones remembered him, and in remembering, they resisted the darkness, in ways subtle yet enduring. Thus, the song of Tom Bombadil rang still, soft and unassuming, a melody older than the crowns of kings, older than the wisdom of the Valar. The dark may stalk the world, but it falters at the edges of his laughter. Its reach is vast, yet it cannot touch what lies beyond its understanding. Tom's defiance was quiet, absolute, and eternal, not of conquest, but of being. And so, while the Dark Lords schemed and armies marched, Tom walked in the old forest, singing, laughing, and keeping the hidden heart of the world alive, untouched, unclaimed, and unconquered. Chapter 6: The Ring and the Laughing Master. Even in the quiet of his green domain, news of the One Ring's making reached the corners of the world. Sauron's malice, newly clothed in subtle cunning, spread across Middle-earth, and even the Valar looked on with apprehension. Yet Tom Bombadil, the merry master of the Old Forest, regarded this artifact with nothing but amusement. For the ring, which could bind kings and corrupt the hearts of elves and men, was powerless against him. When Frodo and his company passed near his borders, weary from their long journey, the air around Tom shimmered with warmth and mirth. He laughed freely at the notion of the ring's terror, as though it were a mere trinket. "Ah, little shiny thing," he said, twirling it on his finger, "what do you hope to do with me? You cannot enslave what does not bend, nor frighten what does not fear." The hobbits looked on in awe, for here was a being older than the oldest memory, yet still untainted by worry or greed. Tom's laughter was like sunlight, spilling over their weariness, chasing shadows from the edges of their minds. "Do you see, Samwise?" Frodo whispered. "He bears it as though it is no more than a pebble from the river." Tom's power lay not in defiance or in battle, but in indifference, the absolute refusal to be ruled. While the ring's influence worked by coercion and desire, Tom existed beyond all that could tempt or compel. He could see the fear and ambition of those who coveted it, and yet he did not desire, did not strive, did not even notice. The world's dominion rested in their striving, his in being. Even the forest itself seemed to know his laughter. Old trees straightened their limbs, streams quickened their flow, and the very earth exhaled in relief. Nothing shadowed or foul could find purchase in his presence, and the ring, the instrument of domination, lay idle, useless, forgotten. "This is the way of the Eldest," he said softly, almost to himself, watching Goldberry weave reeds along the water's edge. "They make chains for others, yet I walk free. Freedom is not something to seize, it is something to be." The hobbits felt the truth in his words, though its full measure was beyond them. Here was a force older than kingdoms, deeper than law, and more enduring than the might of Sauron. The simple, unassailable power of one who is utterly himself. It was a lesson in subtlety and wonder, that true mastery of the world does not demand control, but harmony, not fear, but joy. Even Gandalf, though he would later marvel at Tom's immunity to the ring, could only guess at the depth of his strength. For it was not knowledge, nor wisdom, nor courage alone that made Tom invulnerable. It was the living essence of the first music, the echo of the world's creation, singing through him without interruption. In that song lay dominion over shadow, over fear, over all things that sought to bind the heart of Middle-earth. And so the ring lay in his hands like a leaf upon the water, drifting and meaningless. No whisper of malice could move him, no hint of desire could bend him, no threat of power could touch him. The laughing master had made the world's greatest weapon into a child's toy, and in doing so revealed a truth far older than any war, older than any throne, older than the very stars. In Tom Bombadil, power is not seized, it is simply known. It does not command, it nurtures. It does not strike, it endures. The Eldest, the River Daughter, the laughter and the song, all together they form a quiet kingdom that cannot be conquered, a sanctuary against the world's dark ambitions. And in that sanctuary lies the secret every king, every sorcerer, every would-be ruler in Middle-earth could never grasp, that the truest power is the freedom to be, unshaken and unclaimed, in harmony with the very heart of creation. Chapter 7. The Limits of Dominion. All who seek to rule in Middle-earth measure power by the ability to command, to bend others to their will, to cast shadow or flame across the land. Thrones, crowns, armies, and rings, these are the tools of dominion. Yet Tom Bombadil exists entirely outside this measure. His freedom, his laughter, his song, these are forces that cannot be constrained, weighed, or captured. Here lies the true limit of dominion, that no matter how vast a shadow spreads, some hearts and lands remain untouchable. The Valar themselves, wise and mighty, could do little to alter his existence. Sauron's cunning, Morgoth's malice, even the deep designs of the Eldar, all faltered at the edges of his green domain. It was not that he opposed them, for he rarely interfered in their struggles. Rather, he transcended their reach. He needed no armies, no magic, no counsel, because nothing could impose upon his will that he did not freely grant. The old forest itself obeyed his voice without question. Trees bent, roots shifted, waters turned, and even the sun and mist seemed to linger in quiet homage. And yet he never forced, never demanded. This is the paradox of true power. It need not exert itself, because it exists in the very essence of being. Those who sought to dominate, whether by fear, greed, or ambition, could not comprehend this. When the dark things of the world crept close, wolves, shadows, fell creatures of lingering evil, they found no purchase. Not because they were fought, but because they met no resistance to exploit. The Eldest's power was subtle, absolute, and wholly unmeasured by the tools of others. A king might command an army to take a hill. A sorcerer might weave spells to bend a river. Tom simply was, and by being, he shaped what he loved without effort. Even when the ring of power was placed upon his hand, the instrument of domination that could corrupt the hearts of the mightiest, it found nothing to bind. It was useless, empty, a mere trinket. This was the final testament to the limits of dominion, that all the schemes of Sauron, all the ambitions of men and elves, could not touch a heart that had no desire for rule. In his laughter lies the enduring lesson of the Eldest. True mastery is not conquest, but freedom, not control, but harmony, not fear, but joy. Power does not need to be flaunted or enforced to be absolute. In Tom Bombadil, we see that some forces are beyond measurement, beyond ambition, beyond greed, beyond war. They exist in quiet continuity with the music of the world itself, eternal and inviolate. And so the shadow may stretch far, and kings may rise and fall, and dark lords may threaten the lands of men and elves alike. Yet in the green heart of the old forest, where the Eldest walks and sings, dominion finds its limit. For there are some who cannot be ruled, some lands that cannot be taken, some songs that cannot be silenced. Tom Bombadil is one such, and in him we glimpse the ultimate truth of power, that the mightiest strength is freedom itself, unclaimed and unyielding. Chapter 8. The Mystery of Names and the Music Before Time. There are forces in Middle-earth older than memory, older even than the stars themselves, and among these lies the power of names. To speak a name is to call the essence of a thing into being, to touch the truth that underlies all form. Tom Bombadil knows this in a way that surpasses even the wisest of elves. He does not merely name the world, he remembers it, calls it, and sustains it with song. When the elves first awoke under starlight, they wandered and wondered at the names of all that surrounded them. Mountains, rivers, trees, stones, they sang the first names, crafting in their voices the memory of the world. But Tom's knowledge predates even these songs. He knows the secret names, the hidden words, the ancient music woven before thought and speech existed. And in that music lies his true strength. It is said that if one listens closely in the old forest, the air itself hums with his song, carrying echoes of the first music. Each note vibrates with a depth beyond understanding, resonating in the roots of trees, the stones of hills, and the waters of the Withywindle. The world recognizes him as one who remembers the song that made it. In this remembering, he has dominion, not through force, but through fidelity, the purest of power. Elves who have encountered him describe it as a sense of awe mixed with wonder, as if all the histories of the world were present in a single heartbeat. Gandalf, too, though wise in the arts of magic and lore, could perceive only a fraction of the depth of his being. For while even the Valar shape the world with intention, Tom simply is, and being, in its most profound sense, carries with it the authority that even darkness cannot touch. The mystery of names is bound to the mystery of being. Every creature and every stone has a song, a truth beneath its form, a memory of the music that began creation. Tom knows these secrets, Yet he shares them not through teaching or command, but through the gentle weaving of his own laughter and rhyme. It is subtle, imperceptible to those who seek power in dominance, yet absolute in its effect. And here we see why he is more powerful than even the mightiest of Middle-earth's heroes. The One Ring can bend wills, armies can enforce law, sorcerers can command the elements, but none can touch that which is rooted in the song of the world itself. Tom's strength is the music of creation made manifest, and in it lies the quiet resistance to all that seeks to claim or corrupt. In truth, the Eldest's knowledge of names is a reflection of his intimate connection to time itself. He remembers what has been, sees what is, and in some measure perceives what might be. Yet he acts not to control, but to sustain. This is why even the darkest designs falter at the edges of his presence. Shadows cannot corrupt what has no desire to be shaped, and malice cannot harm what exists in harmony with the eternal song. And so, when the wind stirs the leaves in the old forest, when the river dances over stones, when the fox and the hare pause in quiet reverence, the memory of the music before time hums beneath it all. That song is Tom Bombadil, laughing, singing, remembering. And in remembering, he protects, not with sword, not with magic, not with might, but with the simplest, most unassailable power of all, the knowledge of names and the eternal music that binds them. Chapter 9. The Passing Ages and the Enduring Song. The ages roll like rivers to the sea, and Middle-earth has known sorrow and triumph in equal measure. Kingdoms have risen and fallen, great cities have been built and broken, and the hands of men and elves have carved marks upon the earth that even time struggles to erase. Yet through it all, the old forest endures, and within it, Tom Bombadil continues to walk, laughing, singing, and keeping the hidden heart of the world alive. The elves have departed to the west, leaving behind memories of their wisdom and the music of their making. The dwarves have delved deep into stone, crafting halls that echo with hammer and fire. Men have come and gone, their cities glittering briefly before falling to ruin. And yet, Tom's song remains, unchanged and uninterrupted, a thread that ties the present to the first music, to the very moments when Arda was young. In the quiet of evening, when the sun slips behind the hills and the shadows stretch long over the meadows, the air seems to hold its breath. Here, the stories say, Tom walks with Goldberry at his side, the laughter of the Eldest mingling with the gentle murmur of the Withywindle. The forest listens, the streams shimmer, and even the wind seems to pause to catch a note of his song. He has seen the passing of generations, the rise and fall of heroes, the fleeting triumphs of those who seek dominion. Yet he remains untouched, unaltered, free in a way no ring or crown can replicate. It is not that he is unconcerned with the world. Rather, his concern is of a deeper order. He preserves the harmony, the song, the memory of things as they were meant to be. In this preservation lies a power that no sword, no spell, no ambition can undo. Frodo and his companions glimpsed this during their journey, though they could scarcely grasp its full meaning. Gandalf recognized it, and in private musings admitted that Bombadil's immunity to the ring was a testament to a truth greater than all strategies of war, that the enduring song of the world could not be conquered, only forgotten, and those who remember it, as Tom does, are the true keepers of life's balance. And so, as the ages pass and shadows once again gather at the edges of the world, there is comfort in the laughter that drifts from the old forest. It reminds all who hear it that some forces are beyond fear, beyond ambition, beyond desire. The Eldest walks among the trees, singing, untouchable and eternal, a living echo of the music that shaped creation. Even when the world forgets him, even when tales grow faint and songs are lost, the heart of his power remains. It is in the roots of the trees, in the ripple of the streams, in the soft rustle of the leaves, a song that outlives the ages, whispering the truth that freedom and joy, unclaimed and unbound, endure beyond the reach of darkness. Tom Bombadil is more than a curiosity, more than a whimsical figure at the edge of our stories. He is the reminder that there are powers which do not seek, yet shape the course of the world. That there are strengths which do not dominate, yet withstand the ages. That there is a song older than war, older than kings, older than all striving. And in that song walks the Eldest, laughing, free, eternal. Chapter 10. The Legacy of the Eldest. When the last light of evening falls upon the hills, and the stars awaken one by one in the quiet sky, there is a sense in the old forest that something eternal watches, and yet does not intervene. Tom Bombadil walks here still, his laughter mingling with the wind, his song weaving through the trees, the rivers, and the stones. He is a presence older than memory, older than kings, older than the very shaping of the lands, and yet he asks for nothing. His legacy is not written in annals or carved in stone. No monument stands for him, no crown bears his name. Yet it is everywhere, in the enduring life of the forest, in the clear waters of the Withywindle, in the peace that lingers in hidden corners of Middle-earth. Those who wander near may catch a glimpse, a sound, a scent of flowers in bloom, and feel a lightness of heart, as if the world itself is smiling. That is his gift, subtle, enduring, and profound. The Eldest shows us that power need not dominate to be absolute. He is untouched by the ambition of men, the cunning of sorcerers, the malice of dark lords. His is a strength beyond mastery, beyond weapon or spell, rooted in joy and freedom, in the remembrance of the music that shaped the world. In him, we see that true influence comes not from control, but from harmony, not from fear, but from being fully, unassailably oneself. Even in Tales of the Ring, when shadows threatened to consume kingdoms and hearts alike, Tom remained indifferent to their sway. He was not tempted, he was not moved, he was not diminished. The One Ring, the weapon that could command the wills of all, found no foothold. This is the measure of his power, utterly immune to corruption, utterly sovereign, without ever ruling. Through all the ages, the forests and streams remember him. The laughter of Bombadil, mingling with Goldberry's gentle voice, is a song older than history, a rhythm that carries the world's first joys into the present. Though kings fall, though wars rage, though evil rises and fades, the old forest endures. Its heart beats in time with his song, and in that continuity lies a quiet defiance against time, against shadow, against forgetting. And so, the legacy of the Eldest is not conquest or fame, but endurance. It is a reminder that some forces cannot be measured, some powers cannot be taken, some songs cannot be silenced. In Tom Bombadil, Middle-earth glimpses the ultimate freedom, the freedom to exist fully, to laugh, to sing, to be untouched by the darkness that reaches out to all else. As the wind moves through the willows and the stars glimmer over the Withywindle, listen carefully. You may hear him, a laugh, a rhyme, a melody older than time itself. That sound is more than mirth. It is the echo of the first music, the pulse of the world's memory, and a testament to the enduring power of joy, freedom, and love for life itself. Tom Bombadil may seem a mystery, a figure at the edge of our stories, but in truth, he is the keeper of truths the world cannot afford to forget. And while his presence is hidden, his song resonates through all ages, waiting for those who would hear it, and in hearing, remember the deepest secret of Middle-earth, that the truest power is the power to be free, and the oldest, most enduring legacy is the song of being itself. Thus ends the tale of Tom Bombadil, the laughter of the Eldest, the song of the Withywindle, and the enduring power of freedom that outlasts shadow, ring, and the passing of ages. Before the next stories of Middle-earth unfold, pause and let the echo of his song linger in your heart, a reminder of joy untouched and power unconquered. And if you wish to wander further, through the hidden histories of the elves, the secret strength of the Valar, or the unsung wonders of Arda, stay with us, for many songs yet endure in the long, deep story of the world. Until the next telling, may the laughter of the Eldest and the melody of the old forest guide your steps through shadow and time.